It's School Rush Monday, and officially schools are already kicking off today. The boarding schools did start off over the weekend, so as the parents are actually rushing to take their children back to school, especially those who have yet to actually send them back, the UCE examinations are also underway. Highly expected to be back before the month comes to an end. So you get to realize there are lots of things to do with education in the month of February. So the month of February is presenting a lot more for the business community that is mainly centered around the education sector and how you can balance the finances to see how possible you can get more money from there. Welcome on board. This is Smart Means Business. The news recap kicked off at 6:30 a.m. Briefly of the news that was happening throughout the entire bulletin of Fridays. And this particular time, as we kick it off with this second hour of the show, we start with the challenges for cottage processors, whereby there is a need to bridge a gap between the Uganda National Bureau of Standards and the cottage processors themselves. Now, they do believe that there should be more training to promote competitiveness amongst themselves, those in the same business or doing cottages, because at least the other way of training will actually help them access market for their goods. This is our first update this morning, as we are definitely here to give you more business updates as well.
Training is for cottage processors who are dealing in fruits and vegetable products. As part of TechnoServe's mandate under the Hotima project, Hotima standing for Horticulture Market Acceleration Project, one of the objectives is to ensure that we increase the competitiveness and access to markets for micro, small, and medium enterprises. One of the components of these enterprises are the cottage processors, who we are training through Food Safety Associates in food safety. The aim of this is, at the end of the day, we want to see a number of these cottage processors attain certification for their products from Uganda National Bureau of Standards that will enable them to sell beyond their current realm and reach what we call quality differentiated markets, such as those that are in the region and even international markets if possible. The challenge, I would say, has been awareness. I think there have been a lot of complaints from the cottage processors about the processes at Uganda National Bureau of Standards to be able to receive that QMark certification. So this training is aiming to bridge that awareness gap and also trying to ensure that we bring closer the relationship, to improve the relationship between UNBS and cottage processors.
It is going to help me in a sense that I'm going to improve on the quality of hygiene and the quality of marketing and packaging, like how I've been doing it. It wasn't been in a good way, so I'm trying to break through, because now I know all the standards, all the food manufacturing processes, the food hygiene processes. I'm going to follow it up so that I increase on the standard and quality of my products.
Training has come
So anyway, when you look at the agribusiness value addition cottage industry in Africa, also focuses on development of value chain linked community enterprises for the integration of productive resource production, especially rotating around how best those engaging in agribusiness organization can intersect along agricultural value chains that producers engage with. Well, of course, as you've definitely got to realize that there is desire to at least get more knowledge about the available markets and at least access these markets for those engaging in the cottage, that is cottage processing, because that in that same way, if we had to look at some of the other key issues, for example, besides cottage processing, look at people who are engaging in agribusiness, those who are engaging in value addition. These are some of the sectors that you can briefly try to put together, because they're actually having people who are actually engaging from a low scale, the people who are actually engaging in such sectors or in these particular conditions are basically having kind of similar situations that they are facing. And the main focus here is basically to look at how they can get more awareness, how they can train, how they can skill up to at least see themselves benefit from all of this particular one in regards to that kind of situation, if you are to ask me as well. And of course, if we are to as well continue trying to understand more of cottage processing, this is more like more beyond just traditional, you know, or use of sometimes people actually related to the traditional meat processing, such as curing hams and making sausage, which is done at a small scale, and products are often available at farm gates or at farmers. So there's also milk cottage processing. So it is way beyond the issue to do with only, you know, it may be cotton weaving, it may be silk weaving, it may be leather industry, and all of these are all under the kind of cottage processing, if I am to put it in that way. And of course, if we are to continue looking at this particular one, it is more of driving us in the kind of the agribusiness, whereby even with the presidential campaigns and initiatives in the country, it does remind people about the importance of value addition, especially in the agricultural sector. And besides that, now we switch our eyes to the press review this morning to check out what print media has got to say in regards to business on Monday, 6th February. The press review of the Daily Monitor, the East African, and the New Vision, out of which the New Vision says schools get 105 billion shillings. This is a grant for the first term, which has officially started today, with over 13,000 government-aided schools set to receive this capitation grant. And that capitation grant is around 105 billion Ugandan shillings in order to help them through in first term. Then also, as we continue to give you more details, is today is Tarehe Sita celebrations. So there is the untold story of President Museveni's escapades in Mountain Elgon. The celebrations will be held in Mbarara today. And also, besides that, there is a report regarding East African community leaders who have called for DRC ceasefire, because this amongst the key things. If we are to talk about security matters across the region, it will then affect trade if we do not mark it before it goes astray. There is a pictorial where President Museveni was being received by his Burundi counterpart, Everest Ndayishimiye, as he arrived for the extraordinary summit of East African community heads of state that was in Bujumbura on Saturday. The East African leaders had held a regional summit to discuss ways of claiming the conflict in Eastern DRC, and they had met at the State House in Bujumbura, that is in Burundi. And then on the other side, on reports regarding utilities, National Water and Storage Corporation has spoke out on water bill inflation. This is according to a utilities report. and that is one of the things that you will definitely be able to read through and see how best this will be coming through and how this will affect those using the National Water and Sewerage Corporation facilities. Now, away from the new vision, we look at the Daily Monitor this morning as there's an inside plan. Inside there's a Umeme's 700 billion shillings exit plan, as Umeme is expected to exit the country. That is as of 2025, after its contract will have expired. So the country's main power distributor, whose concession agreement runs until 2025, but we do know so far it will not be renewed, is set to leave the country, but with a buyout to be met by the taxpayer. And as the Daily Monitor digs deeper into the maze of this deal and the way forward, you get to realize that one of the key things in here is that Umeme may have an exit plan which may be worth 700 billion Ugandan shillings of a buyout at the end of it all. Now back to school, there's a big report here that the homosexuality talk takes center stage as term kicks off, besides the fact that parents are also looking for money to buy their school requirements, and as well try to at least cope up with the school fees. There's a lot of worry regarding this particular saga of homosexuality. Now, besides that, when you look at the other issue regarding the regional reports, Acholi Chiefdom sues government over Aswaland. More details in the Daily Monitor. Now, besides that, the Uganda Airlines loss has grown up to 266 billion, according to a report in the Daily Monitor. That's a huge loss, 266 billion in here. How will the Uganda Airlines cope up with this? What are the plans forward to ensure they run off this particular loss? More of that is in the Daily Monitor here. Now, also on the other hand, the NSSF brought the unanswered questions so far in the Daily Monitor. What are those questions that need to be answered, and why is it so hard to find the answers towards this particular one? Because the NSSF saga is yet to come to an end, as Parliament is still trying to scrutinize it. After 2 weeks of this particular parliamentary recession, we shall be having more of the sittings regarding the NSSF on the Select Committee in Parliament. Now, lastly, from the press review, the East African, there is a report regarding what the license to travel, wear a passport, the most precious book, and how the world is opening up. So there's more of a detailed magazine kind of story regarding licenses to travel as the world is opening up. How best can you utilize your passport? Then in the segment of money, there is pain of traveling by air in East Africa, as Juba hosts the most expensive airport in the region, according to the latest reports coming in here. I don't know how the traders who trail their plight in Juba in South Sudan have to say about that. Then the markets, there is an issue to do with dollar shortage, which has begun to bite. Farms set growth prospects dim on currency crunch. This is according to the report in the markets. Now, also an outlook, the paradox of feeding Africa. 282 million starve on the continent with 65% of arable land. Then also, lastly, in the opinion poll, Somalia in the East African community, who invited whom? More of this particular one, as in the opinion, Obo does argue it's East Africa that really wants Somalis in the region. And now let's head on ground with Berige Andrew. I did mention earlier that schools are just reopening, and we need to as well see what is happening downtown Kampala. How is the traffic flow, and how best can you move this morning?
All right, thank you very much, Jerome. And today we are just right here at the Ginger Road traffic lights. Of course, that's where we'll be every Monday, trying to observe the traffic atmosphere just right here. And today is a Monday, and it's a back-to-school day. And of course, that explains why we see what we are seeing today. Some slight congestion just right here at this very junction, most especially for the people that are coming, that is from other areas coming to town. But those that are leaving town, it might be a little bit friendly. Now, starting from the very back, at my very back end, and now we are looking at that's the road heading to Chibuli. That's the Mukwano Road. Of course, crossing over to industrial area, you can really see that the vehicles seem to be like they are moving, but they are held for a very long time. intervals, it's quite very heavily congested. Actually, by the time we came on air, they are just being released, as we can observe just right there. It's a very thick congestion. And now for the people that are coming from those areas, from Chibuli and industrial area, and they're planning to pass there towards this particular junction, it's quite a little congested, and the vehicles are held for quite a very long time, as we can observe the traffic officers just right here trying to ensure that there is ultimate flow of the vehicles just right as we can observe them. But the situation, it's kind of a little bit very tight. So if you're coming from those areas, you're coming from Chibuli and probably industrial area, and you're planning to pass via this particular junction, probably heading to town or any other destination that connects to this very junction, you may not be in position to actually reach in absolute time. It's a little bit very congested, and the vehicles are held for quite very long time intervals. And of course, we know that it's a back to school day. Most of the children are going back to school, so that could explain why we could see what we could be seeing just right there. Quite congested, and traffic officers in full control of the traffic atmosphere. Now, on my very right-hand side, if we are to observe the Ginger Road, and of course the vehicles coming from Ginger Road coming to Kampala, you can see it's quite a very heavy congested. Now, it also links back to the Port Bell Road. Those that are coming from Bugolobi, it's the same scenario as we can see. It's just right here. It's quite very thick congestion. And for those people that are coming from Nakawa, probably Nakawa and Chireka, Banda, and you're planning to come just right here, it's quite congested. You can see vehicles released, but it's a huge fleet. Very huge that are coming from just right there. That shows you how very serious these matters are in terms of the traffic. You know, quite many residents and the majority of the people that are staying in those areas, and some, as we know, they are bringing their children, reporting back to school. Of course, some are day scholars, some are boarding students. So that explains why we can really observe quite a thick congestion. Yes, and quite so many passers-by, which could also be one of the attributes to why the jam is quite too much. And I can see that some of them actually even school students. You know, people that are crossing the road, pedestrians, there are quite a lot of them just right here on this very road. And that explains why we can actually observe what we are observing. Now, on my very left-hand side, and of course, we see the vehicles coming. That is from Kampala Road, and they're connecting just straight to this very junction. It's quite very fair, actually, for those that are coming from Kampala and they're coming towards to connect to this very junction. It's a little bit okay, and probably majority, you could probably even be heading to areas like Nakawa, Bugolobi, Tinda, and so many other areas. I'll assure you that you will be in position to get in time. You see the vehicles are held in just in a few minutes, but you don't really find that it's quite a huge fleet of them, just like other places where vehicles are just held and you see a very huge fleet just stretching all the way forward. It's not the case with Kampala Road connecting to Ginger Road, and most especially when you're using this junction of the traffic lights, you will be in position to actually reach in time. If you're coming from Kampala, connecting to this junction, it's very okay. And probably you're destined to go to Ntinda, like I said, Bugolobi, it's very fine. And even those that are heading to so many other destinations just right here. Vehicles held at few intervals, about 2 to 3 minutes, but like I said, there is not really a heavy fleet. Now let's take a look at the Nile Avenue here. And of course, for the people that connect just via this route, if I'm to look at people that, if you're going to pass via the fairway traffic lights, you're going to connect to Kololo, the Gulf Coast, you know, some people that are using the John Babika Avenue, and of course connecting all the way there. And probably you're coming from Wandegea, Mulago, and you plan to pass via fairway, connect to the Nile Avenue. It's a little bit very fair. It's not really that congested. It's not congested. You'll be in position to actually reach in time. You're in Wandegea, you're staying in Mulago, you're staying in Kamocha, and probably you want to branch to the Ginger Road traffic lights. Probably you're going to connect via the fairway traffic lights. Then from there, you connect just right here. Here it's a smooth run. It's not really that congested. There are not so many people that have students that stay in these areas, maybe. I'm not seeing quite a heavy congestion just right here. It's quite a smooth flow of the vehicles right there. Even when they are held for some intervals, you find that they are not really, it's not a huge fleet. It's not a huge line of vehicles that are taking place. Of course, and that is the traffic atmosphere just right here at the Ginger Road traffic lights. I'm Andrew Barije, and back to studio with Joram.
Z was actually trying to mention that you can at least see how the flow is so far. Not so busy, but you can highly expect that the traffic jam may start picking up at around 8, stretching over to 9 a.m. this early morning, simply because of the rush of taking back children to school. And of course, it's the first term officially kicking off the academic year. Has already kick-started off today, and so you get to expect that the traffic will be quite immense, because everyone will be trying to at least catch up with the school time, and at the same time try to catch up with the business hours in that regard. As we're heading into the break, of course, Zabu is a platform which is there for you and keeps on reminding you that you can invest today. What you need to know is that you can invest in government bonds, for example, with Zabu. Zabu is a platform by Altex East Africa, and it's basically giving you that particular opportunity to invest in government bonds. How possible and how sure is that? Star 292# is the USSD code. Follow the prompts and invest in government bonds, and you'll be able to experience all that matters today with Zabu. With a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, you can grow your money. You can invest in government bonds with the platform. Zabu says, my money, my future. And Altex East Africa says, do something new. The opening time is 8:15 a.m. and closing time is 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. Please do note that these markets do close over the weekends and on public holidays, but the rest of the times they are still open. Zabu, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. Well, when I do return after the break, we shall be heading into Karibu, East Africa, and the SMB International News to check out what is happening from there in regards to business.
Smart24, driving business.
The Uganda Development Corporation is a government-owned investment firm tasked with promoting Uganda's industrial and economic development.
Sorot Fruit Factory is our flagship project. Its aim is to grow that business of adding value to fruits in this country. This country is endowed with a lot of resources. NADSO WC have been supplying inputs to farmers. The inputs are reaching a period where we need to add value. Talk about fruits, we are going to have a challenge if we don't move fast with the value addition component. So Soroti Fruit Factory is meant to address this gap, to process fruits, and mainly oranges and mangoes.
The Sorot Fruit Factory and Teju products are valid certification permits of UNBS because we renew them after 1 year.
Our membership are normally primary cooperatives, and we have 59 primary cooperatives. But when you translate that into individual membership, we have close to 6,000 members. Our area of coverage is very large. We cover 10 districts, we have estimated 80 million fruiting trees in Teso. And every season, we have 2 seasons, first season and second season. First season, we normally get around over 800,000 tons. That's why you find, the farmers have to look for other markets like in Kenya, Rwanda, and sometimes Southern Sudan.
We must clearly understand the aspect of a cooperative. A cooperative is a voluntary organization formed by members for the members, and it is democratic. They carry out their own decisions on how to perform. But for me, particularly the Soroti Fruit Factory was initially supposed to assist Soroti fruit growers. So what happens is that the government, in its wisdom, made a partnership. We organized the Soroti fruit growers into a cooperative society. This was an opportunity for them to come together. You produce differently, but you'll be able to market it together.
We are in a race for development with other nations. This UDC is one hell of an ammunition that we can use for our country. So, but we need to oil the ammunition. UDC and government and private sector, let's get our act together.
We are also the biggest makers of concentrate, orange concentrate and mango pulp in the country. For oranges, we buy Hamelin, Washington Navel, Valencia.
We used to bring it fully from import. Now part of this import we substituted with the Soroti orange. Like that way, and in future also we are, because it is available in good quality fruits, pulps are available now here.
Do take it to Soroti Fruit Factory. I have about 280 trees. Those oranges have enabled me to do so many things. I've educated my children now. Many of them have graduated. I've managed to build my house.
This fruit farm is quite productive, because this is one of the source of income for our family, to see how we can extend this farm even up to the village, because we started some in the village.
If you plant the oranges and you look after them well, by the 10th year, you will be getting 24 million from 1 acre. From 1 acre. So that's why the NRM recommended that now, for the 4 acres model, number 1, coffee, if you are in an area which can grow coffee. Number 2, fruits.
Smart24, driving business.
We'll be back from the break. You're still watching Smart Means Business. So quickly do remember that you can use the Zabo platform that is giving you more of an advantage to grow your investments today. Star 292 hash is the USSD code that you will definitely use to at least follow the prompt and kickstart off your investment journey with Zabo. Zabo is a platform by Altex East Africa, and it's giving you the opportunity to grow your investments today. Star 292 hash, like I did mention, is the platform which you can use today, grow your investments and continue to grow every day. Zabo, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. Remember, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and do close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. And besides that, the markets on the platform are only fully closed on the weekends and on public holidays. Zabo, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. And now it's time for us to check in what is happening across the region with Karibu East Africa. Habari ya leo East Africa. As we kick it off, the European Union has threatened to blacklist Kenya over grand corruption and bribery cases. So the issue here is regarding grand corruption and money laundering, as well as revisiting an old problem that Nairobi has completely struggled to contain. Now, the European Union ambassador to Kenya, Henriette Ganji, said Kenya's reluctancy to curb corruption and money laundering could scare off investors. She did told